We spend our lives in pursuit of destiny. We study for it. We work for it. We dream of it. We believe it's something out there to be achieved, conquered, or found. But what if I told you that your most significant act of destiny isn't something you do, but someone you choose? The title of my talk tonight is stark. Choosing the wrong spouse can ruin your life and destiny. This is not about placing blame. It is about recognizing a profound truth. The person you invite into the inner sanctum of your life holds a master key. They can either help you build your dream palace or slowly and surely dismantle it from the inside. This isn't about fairy tale perfection. It's about foundational alignment. A wrong choice isn't always about a bad person. It can be a good person who is wrong for you. For the core of who you are and who you are meant to become, it is a mismatch of values, vision and velocity. We spend our lives in pursuit of destiny. We study for it. We work for it. We dream of it. We believe it's something out there, a summit to be conquered, a prize to be won, a distant horizon we must tirelessly march toward. We treat it as a singular noun, a fixed point on a map, the culmination of all our striving. But what if I told you that destiny is less a destination and more a direction? And what if the most critical compass for that journey isn't found in a boardroom, a classroom, or a bank account, but in the quiet, intimate space of your own heart and the heart of another? What if your most significant act of destiny isn't something you do, but someone you choose to walk the path with? The title of my talk tonight is stark, intentionally so. Choosing the wrong spouse can ruin your life and destiny. Let's sit with that for a moment. The word ruin feels dramatic, final, like the crumbling of ancient stones. But ruin is rarely a sudden catastrophe. More often, it is a slow, imperceptible weathering. A trickle of water finding a hairline crack in the foundation. The silent growth of moss that eventually pries apart the strongest walls. This statement is not offered from a place of cynicism or to instill fear about marriage itself, which in its right form is one of life's greatest blessings and catalysts. Nor is it about placing blame on individuals who may have found themselves in painful, difficult partnerships. It is instead about recognizing a profound and often underestimated truth. The person you invite into the inner sanctum of your life, the one who shares your bed, your finances, your silent worries, and your most vulnerable dreams, holds a master key. They have access to the very control room of your being. With that key, they can either be a co-architect, helping you build the dream palace of your potential, laying bricks of encouragement, wiring it with laughter and security, or slowly and surely, often without any malicious intent, they can dismantle it from the inside. They can question the blueprints of your dreams until you doubt them yourself. They can redirect the resources of your time, energy, and emotion towards projects you never signed up for. They can brick by daily brick, alter the structure until one day you look around and realize you are living in a house you don't recognize for a life you no longer own. This conversation isn't about fairy tale perfection or finding a flawless prince or princess. That pursuit is itself a path to ruin, for it is based on an illusion. It's about something far more substantive, foundational alignment. A wrong choice in this crucial arena isn't always, or even often, about choosing a bad person, someone cruel, abusive, or intentionally destructive. The more insidious and sadly common mismatch is choosing a good person who is simply wrong gay for you and for the core of who you are meant to become. It is a misalignment of the deepest sort, a mismatch of values, vision, and velocity. You might value ambition and growth while they cherish contentment and simplicity. Not wrong, just different. You might envision a life of travel and service while their vision is rooted in family and local community. Not wrong, just different. You might move at a certain velocity, driven, fast-paced, eager to build, while they operate at a gentler, more cautious rhythm. Not wrong, just different. But when these core frequencies are out of sync, the resulting dissonance doesn't just cause arguments about money or holidays, it creates a static that drowns out the quiet, guiding voice of your own purpose. You begin to make compromises not at the periphery of your life, but at its very center. To keep the peace, to show love, to avoid the ache of conflict, you trade pieces of your authentic self. And each trade, though it may feel small in the moment, is a withdrawal from the bank account of your destiny. Consider the metaphor of a majestic eagle, born with an innate destiny for the highest peaks, for riding the powerful currents where the air is thin and the view encompasses entire kingdoms. Imagine that eagle, driven by a need for partnership or a fear of solitude, choosing a mate who is profoundly afraid of heights. This mate is not a villain. They may be kind, loyal, and good in their own realm on the forest floor, but their nature is grounded, cautious, and anxious about the very thing that gives the eagle its purpose and joy. Out of love or duty, or simply the wearying friction of constant tension, the eagle begins to fly lower. It lands more frequently to reassure its partner. It spends more time on sturdy, familiar branches, discussing the comforts of the moss below rather than the beckoning storm clouds above. Over time, the muscles meant for soaring weaken from disuse. The eyes that once scanned distant horizons grow accustomed to the details of the forest undergrowth. The eagle's destiny isn't stolen in a dramatic predatory attack. No, it is relinquished, it is surrendered daily in 1,000 small, seemingly loving compromises. A hesitation before takeoff, a suppressed urge to chase the wind, a silent agreement to call the lower branches enough. This is how a destiny is eroded, not with a declaration of war, but with a whispered treaty of resignation. This is the silent tragedy of a misaligned union. It doesn't always look like shouting and tears. Often it looks like quiet resignation. It sounds like the sigh that follows a suppressed dream. It feels like a gradual dimming of your inner light, a softening of your edges, a slowing of your pulse for life. The wrong partnership can become an energy vortex, draining your emotional and spiritual reserves with constant repair work, misunderstandings, and the exhausting labor of bridging a chasm that was there from the beginning. It can cloud your judgment because your perspective is forever filtered through the lens of us and us. That may require the distortion of your own truth. It can shrink your world as you pull back from opportunities, friendships, or passions that your partner doesn't understand or support. Ultimately, it can redirect the very trajectory of your life, like a ship whose navigator is constantly arguing with the captain, steering you towards safe, familiar harbors, while the treasure-filled, destiny-shaping islands remain unseen on the map. It can turn a life of vibrant potential into a script of quiet desperation, where the question, what if, echoes louder than the life you are actually living. This is the weight of the choice. But within this stark truth lies an immense, transformative power, a power that is yours to wield. For if understanding the cost of a wrong choice feels heavy, it is only because the glory of a right choice is so profoundly liberating. The same master key that can lock doors can also open them to vistas you could never reach alone. The conscious, wise, courageous choice of a true partner can become the single greatest catalyst for your destiny, elevating, empowering, and fulfilling it beyond what you could ever accomplish in solitude. This is the hopeful counterpoint. To avoid the ruin is to invite the renaissance. The awareness of the stakes is not a burden, but the first and most crucial step toward making a choice that doesn't just protect your life, but propels it into its highest, most magnificent expression. It begins with shifting the question from who will love me to with whom can I build a legacy, and from who makes me feel passion to who shares my deepest peace. This is the foundation upon which a destiny is not just preserved, but passionately, joyfully, and collaboratively built. This brings us to a crucial distinction, one that is often the source of great confusion and prolonged pain. When we speak of the wrong spouse, our minds may instinctively conjure images of a classic villain, a person of overt cruelty, of betrayal, of selfishness so profound it leaves scorched earth in its wake. And to be clear, such partnerships are indeed devastating, but the landscape of a mismatched union is often far more subtle, and in its subtlety far more perilous. The more common, and in many ways more disorienting, tragedy is not choosing a bad person, but choosing a good person who is at their core wrong for the architecture of your soul and the trajectory of your destiny. This is the mismatch that unfolds in slow motion, where love is present but incompatible, where affection exists alongside a deep, persistent loneliness. You find yourself in a relationship that looks fine, even admirable from the outside. There is no shouting, no scandal, perhaps not even overt unhappiness. Yet inside, you feel a quiet shrinking, a gentle, persistent ache of compromise that has settled into your bones. Think of it as two fundamentally sound, beautiful, and valuable instruments. Let's say a grand piano and a magnificent cello. Each is a masterpiece of craftsmanship capable of producing profound beauty. But if you try to play a duet written for two pianos on this mismatched pair, something will always feel off. The cello's soulful, mournful legato cannot truly replicate the piano's percussive harmony, no matter how skilled the players. The sheet music itself becomes a source of friction. The pianist thrives on complex chords and a wide range, while the cellist is built for melodic, linear expression. They can play the same A song, yes, but they cannot fulfill the same part. To force it is to ask the cello to be something it is not, to dampen the piano's full range for the sake of harmony. The resulting music may be pleasant enough to the untrained ear, but it lacks the soaring, transcendent power that comes from true synergy. The instruments are not bad, they are simply, irrevocably, built for different expressions of the musical spectrum. This is the quiet tragedy of a misalignment of values, vision, and velocity. Values are the bedrock, the non-negotiable principles upon which you build a life. Is integrity your compass, or is flexibility? Is growth a necessity, or is comfort the priority? Is adventure a core nutrient, or is security the ultimate goal? When core values clash, every decision becomes a negotiation of the soul. A person who values radical honesty may wither under a partner whose value is preserving harmony, even if it means omitting difficult truths. Neither is wrong, but together they speak different emotional languages, leading to a profound sense of being misunderstood at the most fundamental level. Then comes vision, the picture on the box of the puzzle you are assembling together. Where do you see yourselves in 10 years? What does a life well lived look like? Is it a life of public impact or private contentment? Is the dream a bustling home full of children and chaos, or a sleek apartment in a global city with the freedom to roam? Is the goal to build a financial empire, or to have just enough to fund a life of creative freedom? If one partner's vision is a quiet, rooted existence tending a garden, and the other's is a passport filled with stamps and a career on an international stage, love becomes a rope in a tug of war. With each passing year, the gap between those visions doesn't close. It becomes a chasm over which you must build longer, more fragile bridges, until the energy to maintain the connection exhausts the energy to live your own dream. And finally, velocity. This is perhaps the most subtle, but equally powerful force. Velocity is your pace, your rhythm, your innate tempo for life. Some souls are sprinters, driven, intense, rapidly iterating, hungry for the next milestone. Others are marathon runners, steady, enduring, focused on sustainability and the long, slow grind. Still others are wanderers, moving to an intuitive, meandering rhythm, more interested in depth of experience and speed of achievement. When velocities are mismatched, the faster partner feels perpetually held back, impatient, and stifled. They may mistake their partner's pace for laziness or a lack of ambition. The slower partner, in turn, feels perpetually rushed, pressured, and never enough. They are exhausted by the relentless pace and may mistake their partner's drive for restlessness or a failure to appreciate the present. The sprinter sees the marathoner as an anchor. The marathoner sees the sprinter as a tornado. The love may be genuine, but the shared journey becomes a source of constant friction, a feeling of walking together but out of step, with one always slightly breathless and the other always slightly dragged. This is the insidious nature of choosing a good person who is wrong for you. The problems aren't clear-cut. You cannot point to a villain. You point instead to a fog of low-grade dissatisfaction, a chronic sense of loneliness within the relationship, a feeling that you must edit yourself to be fully loved. You make compromises, but not the healthy compromises of partnership, where you choose the movie or the vacation spot. You compromise on the essence of who you are. You mute your ambitions. You apologize for drive. You smother your wanderlust. You learn to live with a ceiling placed gently, lovingly over your aspirations. The conflict is not dramatic. It is a cold war of the spirit. And in that war, your destiny is not attacked. It is simply neglected. It is placed on a high shelf, gathering dust, while you tend to the daily business of a partnership that requires you to be less of yourself to maintain its peace. The greatest danger here is the slow acclimatization to this lower altitude. You forget what it felt like to breathe the thin, thrilling air of your own potential. You convince yourself that this good, decent, but mismatched love is the best you can do, that the ache in your chest is just part of being an adult, that the silent fading of your dreams is a natural part of settling down. This is how a good person can, without ever raising a voice or breaking a promise, help ruin a life and a destiny, not through malice, but through a fundamental mismatch that gently, persistently asks you to trade your magnificent, singular melody for a tolerable, but ultimately unsatisfying harmony.